we're going to talk about managing in a crisis. And I appreciate you joining the Zoom call. I think this will be a quick reminder of some things you should be doing. Hopefully you'll pick up some ideas for what you should be doing, and maybe some things maybe you need to stop doing. I don't know. But why are we talking about this? I mean, some businesses right now there's nothing to manage, and the business is shot right now, and you're shut down, and I think this is all the more reason to take a hard look at this. Now, there's a lot of businesses that are able to keep moving forward. Some are even thriving, and it's just a good time to reevaluate everything we're doing. So what we're going to do is walk through this real briefly. If you got questions, make sure you use either the chat platform on Zoom, or you feel free to email me, and then we'll address all those at the end. And I gave you a few handouts, and I'm going to show you the first one right now. Is just the outline. And this is, like I said, you should have received this in an email earlier today. This is just basically what we're going to talk about. So we're just going to walk through this and hopefully highlight some areas that you may need to think about. So first thing is, what should management look like? And that starts with, what are our goals? And this is a function of leadership within the business. The leadership, you're deciding where you want to go with the business this year. Obviously, this year is a little messy because there could be changes in what you're trying to do. You may have thought you were going to achieve a 10% increase in sales, and this year, if you can stay anywhere close to prior year, you were doing well. Those are the types of things that you do have to make some adjustments for. So that's a function of defining where you want to go. Management is a matter of really making sure we're going to hit those goals, whatever they are. And so to do that, we need a plan. And there's a million different types of plans. And I'm not, you probably put together a business plan when you first started the business, and it was 30 pages because you needed to follow this outline, and you needed a bank loan, and they wanted you to address all these things. I'm not talking about those kind of plans. I mean, there may be times where you need that, but I'm talking about, what is our operations going to look like? What are we doing to pull everything together? And so one of the things that I like to do is try to get it as simplified as possible and get it into a one-page document if possible. And so therefore, that's going to look something like this, or this is an example. And there's different versions of it. There's Gazelle's Inc. has a one-page management plan that's great. It's just a little more to it than for my business. I don't need that. But this tells me what I need to do in the main areas: employees, marketing, operations, and financial. And then I set my plan up for the year, whatever that is. And my business is very seasonal. So I got 3 seasons: January through May, June through August, and then September through December. And so each season, as you can see on this plan, is a little different. What do we focus on? And this is done at the front of the year. So we say, here's what we're going to do this year. And then we go do it. Now, we don't achieve everything all the time. That's fine. That's going to happen. But it gives us direction on which way to go. I hope that makes some sense. So, we're going to need that plan. And to do that, this is merely a matter of creating systems. Everything we're talking about today is a system. I have that operating plan. That is a system. Then there's systems designed to achieve each of those goals. And that's what we want to focus on is, are the systems working? And then what's the output? And then if the output's good, then we're making progress towards our goals. The output is good, then we got a problem. And that's a matter of getting consistent feedback on everything we're doing. And then management is really about evaluating all of that. Now, that may be on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual, whatever. We have daily statistics in our office, especially during tax season, where we stand as far as getting tax returns out the door. Those are the types of things that sometimes they're ugly. We're not getting what we need to get done, but we at least know it. Then we can start addressing it. And it ultimately comes back to accountability, and that's the key. And this is where it's a matter of trade-offs. What are our end goals? Like right now, I'm way behind on getting tax returns out because we've been doing all of these questions and answers on the payroll protection program and all these other things. That's okay, because the end goal is I'm helping small business owners, and that's what we're trying to, that's the real goal. So therefore there's trade-offs on all this. It's a lot like a baseball manager, and this is the part that I think a lot of fans don't even think about. They get upset with moves that a baseball manager might make in a game, as far as when to pull a relief pitcher in and so forth. But the manager isn't concerned about winning that game. He's concerned about winning the World Series. He was concerned about getting to the World Series. It's the season-long thing. And so we don't know all of the ins and outs of which relief pitcher is get a sore elbow, or, those are the types of things we don't know. And so, but the manager has to be factoring in that short-term and long-term. And the same is true for our management of our businesses. If we spend time on marketing, we aren't spending time on operations. Or if we spend time on employees, we may not be doing as much marketing. There's balance in all this. We have to address all of it at the same time. And so there's different things you're going to prioritize at different times during the year. There's some sacrifice, but that's okay. So that's the part where the manager has to balance this. Now, in a crisis, it gets a little different, though. It gets a little fuzzier. And why? Right now with this coronavirus, we have businesses that are shut down, or maybe they're still in business, but then you got employees spread out. We're working remotely. Or your customers may be working remotely, and so therefore you don't have as much access. There's just different things that we can't control, and a lot of them are hitting at the same time. And the separation from the team is at one level good, but you can still do things and you can still manage it, but you do lose some connectivity, and that hurts some brainstorming. Now, obviously something like Zoom, what we're doing now, it can be really good, but it's still hard. And the other part here with the crisis is there's more questions than answers. And, we just keep seeing other issues popping up and this and that. And that's a problem because we don't have the information. And that's why we have to have systems to help identify as much as we can. We can't completely identify, we don't know everything, but we can identify the things that we would like to know, and then we can work towards it. Maybe we can't answer it completely, but we can get closer. So the issue is, how do we get through this? And, a lot of this comes back to starting with the big picture. What are our goals? If all of a sudden we had to adjust our goals to a much lower number this year, then that's what it is. We might have to really adjust, but we can also, once we get that clarity, then we have to communicate, and we have to look and dig. And this is where we bring in our systems. We have different systems for every piece. One of the things I gave you, and I'll show it to you real quickly, is is the monthly management checklist. So if I'm reviewing this on a monthly basis, I have this system for doing this. And when I have that system, it's easier to function. Even though I might be way off on a lot of these things, I can adjust what I'm doing to get back where I want to be. So that's the part where once we keep digging for this, missing pieces, we're going to find stuff. And then we're going to revise these systems. Maybe we need to add a few more reports. Maybe we need to do additional training. Maybe we realize we're not going to be able to sell as much, but we do want to maintain, then it's a matter of how do we keep connections with our customers? Because this year is just going to be an off year, and then next year we're going to be bigger and better. And this is where using your team really is critical. You need to lean into the team. What ideas do they have? What are they hearing on the street? What do they know about the business? What do they know about your customers or vendors or whatever? So we have to do this as a team. We have to be collectively stronger and smarter than the next guy. But this leads into, some emergency issues. And that's the other aspect of this, pandemic, is everybody's taking a hit or is disruption. But then what else is going to happen? Waiting for that other shoe to drop. And, this is where we want to set up our planning for the maximum flexibility, and looking for trends. And, I really like some of the financial trends. What are we doing? Or in this case, the trend may have gone to zero. So then it's a matter of, once we're starting back up, is it trending right? Do we have the right reports to see if our sales trends are going in the right direction, or our contacts, that type of thing? These are where getting these things identified now is really critical. And, you want to cross-train your teams on this, so that if you do lose somebody else, you might lose a key person right now. Then all of a sudden, you're stuck. One of the things that I did a couple of years ago, and I've been using this off and on, is when I go back to my operating plan, I have, here's the basic operating plan on the left side. And again, you should have a copy of this. And then I'm over here, I just like, what are the key assumptions or problems that could go wrong? And again, I'm trying to figure out what emergencies could happen, just to be aware of it. It's not, complete, this is, all these things are not going to happen. But, we're looking at the employees. Have we hired the right people? And we want people that want to grow, and, expectations. These are things that we're assuming for the employee part. But when we get down into operations, we're seeing, okay, what could go wrong? Well, maybe computers in the network could go down. My key software could have a problem. New tax developments could change our approaches. Right now, taxes there's a bunch of different things, that don't apply to most people, but there's things we need to evaluate. And so all of a sudden, I need to build that into my time for the next roughly 2 months. What planning do we need to do? Especially with the forgiveness of the PPP loans, what does that do? And right now it's still up in the air. So this sort of ties into a SWOT analysis, but I'm doing it also as part of my operational plan, as far as what are the key assumptions and what could go wrong. So that's another big piece of this. We're going to get into emergency planning in a little more detail in a few weeks. But this is something also at the personal level, and that's part of what we're going to talk about in a few weeks, because I think this is really critical that we look at it. So what is the key takeaway? To really do this, there's really just the three things. We have to be proactive. We can't sit on our hands and just wait. We need to be realistic. what is really going on in our business. And we got to, this requires information and key metrics and things like that. We need to know. But we also there needs to be some optimism here. And that is, we can fix whatever's going wrong and we just got to work at it. If we give up that optimism, then you might as well just close the doors. And so that's the part that we have to look at. What can we do right? What can we control? And that's the whole thing about a management plan, is designing what you can control in your business and then going out and doing it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I know this is a pretty quick overview of management, and every business is going to be a little different. But here's the thing: we have to be active in it, and we have to take control of it. So with that, I wanted to see if there's any questions that are out there, and I'd be glad to answer them. We have a few minutes to go through them. Let's see here. Okay, I got one here. What's the difference between leadership and management? I talked about it briefly. Leadership is really about deciding where to go. Management is about making sure you get there. And that's the part where the leadership is going to do strategic plans, saying, okay, we're going to try to do this with our business, and we're trying to get to this spot. And management's about, okay, let's make sure all of our operations are working well so we can get there. I hope that makes some sense. If there's a follow-up on that, go ahead and hit me with it. Let's see, anything else? Oh, this is a very appropriate one. I only have a small team. Do I really still need to do management? Do I have to do all this stuff? And the answer is yes, because first and foremost, the hardest person to manage is yourself. And that's where it requires getting in systems in place, creating some accountability to your team, and then maybe somebody else. For a while there, I had an external advisory board. I don't have it right this second, but I did it for a number of years because I needed somebody to bounce ideas off of, how things were going. And I had 3 or 4 people on this board, and we met quarterly. It was my way of doing that. So we have to be a little creative on some of this, but I think doing these things and getting into this right rhythm, you're going to improve your business. Let's see. Oh, here's another good question. How do we free up enough time to do this? And most people, you're running full tilt, and it's like, well, I can't add anything else. And this is an area where I think the more we do these things, the better off we're going to be, because it's going to reduce your time elsewhere. And that's the part, by managing, you're trying to get your business focused in a certain area. And it could be employee issues, it could be sales, it could be financial, whatever it is. But by managing it, we're trying to eliminate the distractions and get focused on the real issues that we got to address. And it actually will save you a bunch of time if we're doing this right. So let's see, any other questions right now? I think it covers most of the ones I've gotten so far. Anybody else have one? Otherwise, we can wrap this up a little early and go about our rest of our day. But well, I think I'm going to let you go right now. And thank you again for participating. And I know this is just chews up some time, but I hope this is beneficial. If you have any questions on this later, please let me know. I think next week we're going to talk about key performance indicators, because I think that is a key piece of this whole thing. And especially as we're coming out of this shutdown, we're seeing the key performance indicators with coronavirus and, number of cases every day and all that. Well, same thing's going to be true for our business. So we're going to hit that next week. So anyway, thanks again. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.